Iran tried to shoot down a lone United States jet. What happened next shocked the world. At exactly 2:15 a.m. local time, a single United States F-14 fighter was cruising at 400 miles per hour over the dark waters of the Persian Gulf. No wingman, no escort. It was drifting dangerously close to hostile airspace, completely separated from its carrier group. On Iranian radar screens, this jet looked lost. Instead of backing away, the Iranian military saw a massive opportunity to humiliate the United States. They immediately scrambled an F-14 fighter jet to intercept. They wanted to force the American plane down, put it on state television, and prove they were not afraid. Radar screens tightened inside the command center. The Iranian jet climbed fast, cutting the distance down mile by mile. Collision alarms were about to ring. But this was not a navigation error. This was a calculated trap. It was a clear political message written in steel. The Iranian command had absolutely no idea they were provoking the wrong force. If you want to follow this incredible confrontation moment by moment, hit that subscribe button right now. To understand why this happened, you have to look at what is going on under the ground in Iran. For weeks, satellite images have shown the Iranian military frantically burying their nuclear sites under millions of tons of dirt and concrete. They know a strike might be coming and they are terrified. But scared regimes do not just stay quiet. Scared regimes do something very stupid to prove to their people and the world that they are strong. The Persian Gulf is not just a body of water. It is a massive 200-mile-wide choke point where trillions of dollars of oil flow every single year. In this tight space, every single military radar is active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you sneeze in the airspace over the Gulf, 3 different countries know about it before you can even grab a tissue. It is a highly monitored powder keg waiting for a spark. For the United States Navy sailors and pilots operating in this hot zone, this is not just another routine patrol. Every time they launch off the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, they know they are one bad decision away from a major international conflict. The stress is incredibly heavy. The air is thick with tension because the stakes are literally life and death. Meanwhile, Iran relies on aging equipment. Their F-14 Tomcat is a legendary plane, but Iran has been flying the exact same jet since 1979. To put that in perspective, that is the same year the first Sony Walkman was invented. While the United States military has evolved, the Air Force in Iran is basically a Frankenstein monster held together by smuggled parts, duct tape, and a whole lot of blind optimism. But the pilot strapped inside that Iranian fighter jet did not care about the age of his plane. He just saw a United States target that looked completely alone, and he wanted to be the absolute hero of Tehran. The Iranian pilot pushed his throttle forward, forcing his aging jet to climb higher into the dark sky. Inside the tight cockpit, he checked his main radar screen. There it was. One solid contact directly ahead. The United States jet was flying slow, totally steady, and making 0 evasive maneuvers. To the Iranian pilot, it looked like the American was asleep at the wheel. He pushed his jet harder, closing the distance over the water. 5 miles. 4 miles, 3 miles. The space was shrinking fast. On his display, the digital targeting system blinked from a soft green to a hard, aggressive red. That color change meant one very specific thing. There was a living, breathing human being sitting right in his crosshairs, and he had a clean shot. The radar system on the F-14 locked onto the United States jet. A loud, steady beat filled the pilot's helmet. That high-pitched tone is the exact sound of a guaranteed kill. The pilot's heart started racing against his chest. Under his heavy oxygen mask, his breathing grew loud and fast. He tightened his grip on the flight stick until his knuckles turned white. His thumb slowly moved over to the bright red weapons release button. He was just a fraction of a second away from launching a missile that would change history. In his mind, he was already picturing the massive parades in his honor back home. He squeezed his thumb down hard on the trigger. It only takes a few pounds of pressure to fire a missile. It is a tiny physical movement that takes less than 1 single second. But inside that cramped cockpit, waiting for the heavy weapon to detach from the wing and fly toward the United States jet, that 1 single second felt like 20 long years. He waited for the physical kick of the weapon leaving the rail. He waited for the bright smoke trail to light up the night sky. He waited for the massive explosion over the Gulf. But absolutely nothing happened. There was no sound of a launch. There was no sudden vibration shaking his jet. He quickly stared out the glass canopy. The sky around him was completely empty. He looked back down at his glowing instruments in total shock. The solid, beautiful radar lock that had been sitting right in the middle of his screen just 1 moment ago was totally gone. The steady kill tone in his headset had completely vanished, replaced by a quiet, terrifying static. He was left in dead silence. The Iranian pilot blinked in total confusion. He quickly took his thumb off the trigger and hit the red button again. Still nothing. There were no warning lights and no misfire alarms. Just nothing. In modern aerial combat, your radar is your eyes. If you lose it, you are literally blind in a dark room with a loaded gun. Even a tiny system glitch can mean the difference between coming home and crashing into the ocean. He frantically tried to reboot the entire system. He flipped heavy switches, desperately trying to lock onto the target again. The radar surged, searching the empty sky, but it found absolutely nothing. He switched to his backup systems, but they were completely dead. He checked his main flight displays. Red error codes began flashing across the entire dashboard. No sound but the heavy breathing inside his own mask. The cold sweat started to pour down his face. He had been flying for hours, and physical fatigue was already messing with his focus. But this was not a tired mistake. This was a catastrophic failure. 30 seconds ago, his cockpit felt like the ultimate throne of power. Now, it felt like a broken-down car stranded on the side of a highway. Mechanical strain is one thing. If a single wire snaps, a good pilot can usually fly around the problem. But this was a total and complete system failure. The digital screens were going black. The analog gauges were spinning wildly out of control. He grabbed the radio and called his ground control team back in Iran. His voice cracked with panic. He told them his entire weapons system was down. The commander on the ground yelled back, telling him to troubleshoot the problem immediately. But there was absolutely nothing left to troubleshoot. Ground control went completely silent because nobody in the command center had an answer for what was happening. The terrifying reality was hitting him fast. Imagine driving a car down the interstate highway at 100 miles per hour, and suddenly your steering wheel, your brakes, your navigation system, and your dashboard all shut off at the exact same time. Now imagine that same car is a military fighter jet flying 600 miles per hour over the dark ocean. That is exactly where this Iranian pilot found himself. He was no longer a dangerous hunter looking for a fight. He was just a terrified passenger strapped inside a very fast, very expensive metal box falling through the sky. He had no idea how to fix it, and his time was rapidly running out. Here is what nobody in the Iranian command center knew yet. The United States jet on their radar screen was never a standard F-14 Super Hornet. It was an EA-18G Growler. From the outside, a Growler looks exactly like a normal fighter jet. It has the exact same shape, the same wings, and the same radar footprint. That was the entire point of the trap. The Iranian military could not tell the difference until it was way too late. What no one saw was the invisible trap waiting for them. The Growler is not a traditional fighter jet looking for a dogfight. It is a highly advanced, dedicated electronic warfare aircraft. It is basically the military version of a quiet guy who looks harmless, but can hack your bank account and fry your laptop with one keystroke. It does not need to fire bullets or explosive missiles to win a dangerous fight over the ocean. It fires highly concentrated, invisible energy right at the enemy. The moment the Iranian F-14 turned on its targeting radar and locked onto the United States jet, the flight crew inside the Growler had absolutely everything they needed. They did not panic. They did not hit the gas to run away. The United States crew did not even know the Iranian pilot was panicking yet, but they knew they had him trapped. They simply smiled, reached out and flipped one single switch. Massive waves of electronic jamming energy flooded the Iranian jet instantly. It reached right into the electronic brain of the F-14 and scrambled it completely. The invisible net of radiation overwhelmed the older jet sensors. The F-14 did not break down from bad maintenance. It was murdered electronically in the middle of the sky. The terrified Iranian pilot did not know it yet, but the fight had been over before he even took his thumb off the red trigger. High above this entire encounter, hiding in the thin air, was another United States jet. It was an F-35C Lightning II stealth fighter. It had been sitting there the whole time, watching the trap unfold in real time on its advanced displays. The F-35 pilot watched his sensors track the Iranian F-14. He saw the Iranian radar go active. He watched the Growler flip the electronic switch, and he watched the F-14's entire electronic signature collapse on his screen. He gave it a few moments, letting the panic really set in for the enemy pilot. Then, the United States F-35 dropped down from the clouds like a stone. The Iranian pilot was on the verge of tears, wrestling with his dead flight stick, trying to figure out how to just survive and fly his broken jet back to land. He looked out the right side of his glass canopy, and his stomach completely dropped through the floor. Right there, just a few feet off his wingtip, was a dark gray United States stealth fighter. It was not attacking. It was not flying aggressively. It was just sitting there, perfectly matching his exact speed, as if it had been flying next to him for an hour and just forgot to say hello. Nobody ever gets this close to an F-35 without permission. The American pilot looked across the small gap at the terrified Iranian. He did not open his weapons bay. He did not get on the radio to yell threats. He simply took his gloved hand, pointed 2 fingers at his own eyes, and then pointed directly at the Iranian pilot. "I see you." Just quiet, absolute dominance in the air. The Iranian pilot stared back, totally helpless. He had no radar, no missiles, and zero dignity left. He shook his head in total defeat. But the United States pilot was not quite done yet. Just to make sure the message was completely understood, the F-35 pulled up and executed a slow, incredibly smooth 360-degree barrel roll right around the crippled Iranian jet. It was like watching a shark swim circles around a helpless fish. Then, the ultimate humiliation happened. The Iranian pilot's radio suddenly cracked to life. It was not his commander on the ground. The United States Navy carrier group had hacked right into his private frequency. Suddenly, the song "Danger Zone" by Kenny Loggins started blasting at full volume inside his helmet. He could not change the channel. He could not turn the volume down. His systems were dead. The terrified Iranian pilot was forced to fly 40 miles back to his coast in total shame, listening to the Top Gun soundtrack on a loop inside his helmet. He could not turn the volume down or change the channel. He did not just lose a dogfight. He was turned into an international punchline. He landed his broken jet safely, but the political damage was already done. The commanders on the ground had absolutely no answers. The pride of the Iranian Air Force was shattered. The United States military did not fire a single explosive weapon, yet they neutralized a hostile threat and humiliated a nation in broad daylight. This encounter proves a massive shift in modern warfare. It proves how digital attacks can force billion-dollar responses. You do not always need a bigger missile to win the fight. Electronic warfare is the new king of the battlefield. Modern invisible weapons can turn multi-million-dollar fighter jets into useless flying paperweights in seconds. Iran tried to set up a massive propaganda victory to look tough on state television, and instead, they gave the entire world a front-row seat to their own massive technological gap. It is a harsh and brutal lesson for any military still relying on outdated hardware from the last century. If you push the wrong button against a modern military force that controls the electromagnetic spectrum, you will not even get the chance to fight back. You will just be turned off like a broken television set. The United States Navy made their strategic point crystal clear to the Iranian command center. "We can see you. We can shut down your best weapons without firing a single shot, and we can do it all while playing our own theme music over your private military radio network." But everyone watching this situation knows this was just a simple test of boundaries. The United States showed incredible restraint by letting that terrified pilot fly his broken jet home alive. The real question is what happens the very next time a hostile jet locks its targeting radar onto an American fighter over the Persian Gulf. The enemy might not get a friendly warning track next time. The next strike might not give them 10 seconds to realize they are already dead.